morning. On January 31st, I ordered an audit of the finances and operations of the Town of Hempstead Animal Shelter. The audit was precipitated by the alarming animal abuse complaints received from the residents of the Town of Hempstead, as well as animal rights groups. These groups alleged at the shelter animal neglect, unnecessary deaths, unsanitary conditions, and unqualified staff. We assigned this audit a top priority and moved quickly to start in the hope of preventing further animal abuse and deaths. We hope that the Town of Hempstead, in consultation with animal rights group, will immediately take all steps necessary to ensure animal adequate care in its shelter. The town should not wait for the audit to complete in order to act and protect the animals in its care. I want to thank Diane Madden from Hope for Hempstead Shelter and her team for bringing the issue to the controller's attention. Her caring will potentially save many animal lives. I would now like to ask Diane to make some remarks. Diane?
Good morning. My name is Diane.
Diane, come over here.
Good morning, and thank you for being here, and especially thank you to Comptroller Maragos for taking this initiative. Shame on Supervisor Santino that we are here again just a few short years later after the first audit. Unsure if all of you remember, but there was an audit done by New York State, and the DA at the time called it a case study of mismanagement. And we are back again here, and we have to retrace those steps because that audit has basically been shredded. And since Supervisor Santino took over, the animal shelter has only worsened. He's brought in more patronage, he's bullied out more experts, he's provided no-show jobs for his party, he did away with every program and replaced the programs with imaginary programs that don't exist. So it is critical that this audit is done not just financially, but operationally. There's an internal investigation that is taking place, but no one knows about it. It seems all of the complaints have been squashed, and the people that complained about all of their experiences, rescuers, current staff, past staff, volunteers, all of their pleas have fallen on deaf ears. And that investigation especially needs to be looked into, the previous audit, because we know that it's been just discarded, and the treatment of animals. The taxpayers are being cheated, and it's long overdue that it stop.
Thank you, Diane. We're happy to take your questions.
What have you found in your audit so far?
We've only started the audit on January 31st.
Okay.
So we have a conference with the town, the appropriate responsible individuals at the town, in about a week and a half to go in and ask for the records, inspect the shelter, and that will be the beginning then of detailed and expeditious audit.
What do you do? Can you explain more what you plan on doing during this audit? What kind of records are you going to be looking at? What are you going to be looking for during your inspection?
Well, we're going to be looking first and foremost at the qualification of the people, their records with regards to animal care, the deaths that may have occurred, the health of the animals that are there, and on and on.
How long do you think it will take?
It depends how cooperative they are, and as you know, they have not been very cooperative with us in the past, and we may have to resort to subpoenas again. I hope that will not be the case. I hope that they will immediately invite, as I've indicated in my remarks, the animal rights groups and concerned citizens, residents of the Town of Hempstead, and work with them to significantly and immediately improve the care that the town provides to the animals.
Actually, no. Can you expand on that? I didn't know that they have not been cooperative before. Can you tell me more about that? Is there some history here?
Well, as you may be aware, that we've subpoenaed records with regards to this Valley Stream IDA that they've refused to provide, and we're in court right now.
Okay, you're talking about that. I
Yes.
didn't know if you were talking about. Okay. You know, I'm sure you get, look, a lot of people must come to your office and say, oh, there's this problem, there's fraud here. Why take on this one? I mean, you must have people come to you all the time and say they know of issues.
Usually we don't jump on the first complaint, but when we have a number of people coming to us and where life and death is involved, I think we have a responsibility to move very expeditiously, and that's what we've tried to do here. We could not have ignored this audit. It's within our power to care and represent the residents of Nassau County.
Is there a specific incident that prompted this audit?
Well, the people standing behind me brought a number of very specific incidents, and I would let them describe some of them. Diane?
Yes.
Yes.
Diane, can you identify yourself, please? Your organization and your last name?
Diane Madden, Madden, and I am the president and co-founder of Hope for Hempstead Shelter. I think for us, we have, since Supervisor Santino was elected, we gave him every opportunity. I met with him personally. There were just a lot of false promises. What happened recently, we were asking for a qualified behaviorist to come in because it was at that point that the shelter was improving back in 2012 and 11, 13. What they did over a 3-year period, they left that job vacant, and it took them that long to find a patronage person, someone that they could hire that would exchange a lot of money to stay silent. So they interviewed, they nominated a few town officials. They would not allow anyone on the committee for hiring from an outside. And they interviewed a very highly accredited behaviorist, and then they interviewed someone that is affiliated with the union, having almost no accreditations. And they passed 2 contracts. They were in violation of the open meetings law at the last town board meeting. They never posted those contracts, and they passed $139,000 worth of hard-earned taxpayer dollars on 2 people that do not have the qualifications to do what had been done and to continue that path. So those 2 contracts are highly suspicious, and I would ask the comptroller to immediately look into those contracts because, again, this is taxpayer money. The taxpayers are suffering this time around probably as much as the animals.
Have you had a chance to study the state audit from a few years ago? Any comments on that?
Not right now. I think we're going to reserve specific comments to later on as we proceed down the audit. But we will bring to the public's attention any alarming situations that we found that need immediate attention.
And if they are cooperative, how soon can you get in there physically, get the records, do what you need to do?
Like I said, we're going in about a week and a half. If they have all the records for us, we're going to try to move this audit along very quickly, hopefully within 2 to 3 months maximum. We'll be able to release a report. But again, I hope that they would not wait that long, and I invite the town to immediately invite the animal rights group and work with them to improve conditions at the shelter.
If I may add to what I said before, those contracts, what was most suspicious is that back in September, when they tried to hire this least qualified candidate, that budget was $80,000. This person didn't even have to step into those shelter doors, and they gave her a nearly $30,000 raise to wait until now to accept this position. Within that contract, it doesn't even designate that this alleged behaviorist even needs to step foot inside the shelter, providing another no-show job for the town of Hempstead. We need the experts back. We need the qualified people. We need all of the programs back. And that's what we're here for. We're here for the animals, and we're here for the taxpayers.
Can you describe what happens to the animals without a qualified person being in this position? What happens? What's the difference between having a qualified person and a no-show person?
what happens in animal shelters, years ago we had to fight for medical care. Now behavior is equally as important, because these animals come into the shelter, many times they're broken already. If they're not broken, they're broken through the process of languishing. So a behaviorist not only evaluates the dogs, that's just a start, and cats as well. They start to treat any issues. They start to make them more adoptable. They match them with volunteers. They code their behavior levels. The animals then get more highlighted by those volunteers, and their behavior starts improving, and they become more highly adoptable. In conjunction with that, a good behaviorist will also develop all kinds of programs, agility classes, meet your match classes. They send out newsletters. They invite the public in, and they have buddy programs to make these animals, again, more adopted and more highlighted. It goes hand in hand with any philosophy that really wants to save animals. This shelter has shown us, and Supervisor Santino has shown us, that his interest is not in developing programs and bringing in experts. His interest is making the shelter what it was for years, a party ATM machine and employment agency.
Does anybody else behind me want to make any comments?
Liz, I'd love to say something.
Would you,
Should I come forward?
and who you are?
I'm Bonnie Radafshar.
From?
Bonnie,
I am an animal advocate.
Okay.
she's had her own
Okay.
experience.
If you approve.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Approve and appreciate.
Good morning, everybody.
Okay.
Identify yourself, please.
Excuse me,
Identify yourself,
Bonnie
please.
Radafshar,
Spell your last name for us, please.
Radafshar. The reason I'm coming forward is because to talk to the press, actually, that I had designed and wanted to roll out a shelter buddy reading program specifically designed for the Town of Hempstead Animal Shelter. Supervisor Santino loved the idea of the program. I actually was working with a veterinarian who specializes in animal behavior, and she very graciously offered on her own day off to come to the shelter and teach children about animal body language, so we could educate children, give them the joy of reading, and also help socialize the animals. Excuse me. Unfortunately, we weren't able to launch the program at Hempstead. A lot of roadblocks were thrown in our way. And the veterinarian decided that it wasn't in her professional best interest for her to launch the program the way Hempstead wanted to, because it just was not really a reading program. So we pulled away from that. Supervisor Santino, amongst other council board members, decided to launch a fake press conference, dragging the press to announce a reading program that did not even exist. When I saw that, I was absolutely outraged that they would have the press come and give a false press conference about a program that wasn't even in existence. So that's why I wanted to speak to you and let you know that. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Controller.
Yes, sir.
An audit has a financial component which is easy. This X amount of money was spent, this how much is spent per each dog. Is there things that cause problems in terms of how to interpret some facts in the operations? We have some heavy accusations against the shelter directors. How do you approach those kind of questions, as opposed to the money part, suppose it's black and white, the part involving how humans operate in this shelter, what they're doing wrong or right? How do you deal with those kind of things?
Well, there's kind of a three-part answer to that question, because I think the question was three parts. First of all, we look at the money that is being spent and the purpose for that money is being spent. Is it spent on salaries, and as an example, and very little on food? That would so we will try to ascertain what amount is being actually spent goes towards the treatment, the care of animals, as opposed to employees, and we're going to look at the qualifications of those employees. Are they qualified to be in those jobs? Because that would have a direct effect, on the care of the animals. Very nice. Then, I'm sorry, the other part to the,
other part, how do you distinguish, if these people are actually doing their job the correct way, considering some of the...
we can, I mean, we have to look at the outcomes, how well the animals that are being taken care of, the records that they have, that they've kept in terms of, animals, how many animals have died, were there unique situations. So we're going to get to the bottom of what's going on, how this money was spent, whether it was spent on taking care of animals, and what was the outcome. How many animals have been placed, have been adopted.
The accusation, let's say, of a no-show job. How do you prove that it's a no-show job?
Well,
how would you go about proving?
We can only look at the qualifications of the other people that they have, and certainly look at the time records, right? We do look at that as part of the normal audit procedures. Have these people been logging in that they were present, as well as the qualifications of the employees.
Can you tell us about the dog in that picture, please?
This is...
No, that one.
Oh,
Up to the mic, please.
yes. What's been happening at the Town of Hempstead Animal Shelter
Hold it up
is
high.
animals are being retaliated against. If you speak out on their behalf, if you love them, if you try to get them adopted, immediately they are targeted. They are left without medical care. They are left without any kind of rescue promotion. And eventually the person that tried to advocate for the animal is also targeted, pushed out, bullied, harassed, and whatnot. This is one case. This is Rebel. While the previous behaviorist, who was very qualified, Laura Garber, was hired in 2011 over a period of 2 years. She implemented all of those programs and more that I spoke about. At the last minute, this dog she brought into her office because she kept using this dog as an example in her training. Once this dog was put in her office, he was then denied all medical care. He became worse. He shut down. Laura Garber, in her last-ditch effort, reached out to rescue for someone to help this dog, and he ended up dying once he left the shelter anyway. And again, there are many cases of animals like this to this day that are not getting outreached for because of the people that either spoke out, disagreed with the director, or have interviewed with the investigators, and they brought up issues that concerned them. So these animals are being used as weapons.
And what about this picture?
This picture actually, I can't speak about it.
Okay. This picture is one of many things that the previous behaviorist did. She held agility classes. She had a very united, unlike the current very divided volunteer program, where even volunteers are being bullied out of. This was an example of her agility classes. She also had a once-a-month class for the community to come in and train or help keep the dogs into their homes. A lot of one of the programs that she implemented was a program called pet retention. So she would take animals that would normally be coming into the shelter and work with the owners. This happens to just be one of many of those programs that she held. This is gone. All of these programs are non-existent. Now you just have maybe a handful of volunteers that are willing, in exchange for privilege, to remain silent and act like everything is okay. But if you walk into that shelter at any time and you ask to be involved with the reading program or the training program or the agility, it'll never happen because those programs have been demolished.
Thank you.
How many positions are we talking about that are underqualified people are filling? How many positions we're talking about?
We don't know right now. We haven't started the audit. I want to thank you all for coming. We cannot stand by and tolerate and condone animal abuse, and certainly not by government, any level of government in Nassau County. So we will move as expeditiously as possible to get to the bottom of what is happening, and hopefully, again, I stress that I hope that the Town of Hempstead supervisor invites the animal rights groups to come in and work with them, because that's ultimately what we want to achieve. Make sure that the animals receive adequate care that we think they deserve and the taxpayers are paying for. Thank you very much.
Comptroller, if you wouldn't mind, can Ms. Stein say a few words?
If she wants
is
to.
an animal welfare attorney.
Yes.
Yes, my name is,
excuse me, Elizabeth Stein. I am an animal welfare attorney. I have worked with Diane, Madden, and Lucille Defina since 2010. And we are also hopeful that Comptroller Maragos will look into a few very pertinent legal issues of great concern to us and things that have come to our attention by foiling certain documents. One of them being where the animals are going and whether they are being allowed to leave the shelter prior to the expiration of their legal hold limit, which basically means that if somebody has lost their animal and they come to the shelter, they will not be able to find that animal. Another thing that we are very concerned about is a contract that Diane was referring to for permanent placement of aggressive dogs with a purported trainer. And my concern is that under the law, an animal can only leave the Town of Hempstead Animal Shelter for adoption or to a rescue organization. And I do not believe that that is what is happening in this particular situation. So I do believe that the contract needs to be looked in very thoroughly. We are also hoping that Comptroller Maragos will look into forms that individuals who are surrendering their animals to the Town of Hempstead Animal Shelter are asked to sign. These people are surrendering their animals thinking that the animals are actually going to be rehomed or rehabilitated. In fact, they are being also asked to sign, excuse me, a form for euthanasia, which is giving the shelter an opportunity to euthanize these animals when in fact they should not be. So there are several legal issues that are of great concern to us. We're hopeful that they are of equal concern to the controller and that they are looked into. Thank you.
We definitely will look into those items, and if you can email us the list of those concerns so we can pass them on to the audit team, that's what we do. And the more leads and information we have, the quicker we can move to conclude the audit. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.